Hi guys, Demon here. Death is a sad occasion, but family and friends around can help, and so does the food. Grand Theft Motto is a nice story about this. Death and cheesecake. In my family, when we grieve with food. I am 4th generation Polish on my mother's side. We take cooking seriously, even more so during the hard days. Piersi, kipitka, nenestniki, covered in so much powdered sugar you need a ski lift to eat it, and 100 other dishes always made from scratch. Recipes were guarded carefully, scribbled on old index cards, passed down from parent to children. Whenever someone in the family got married, the food was incredible. But whenever there was a funeral, the food was transcendence. Everyone outdid themselves when my cousin Joey died.
What a shame,
my ma said, pulling the foil off the plate of fresh sausage rolls.
He was only 20 years old.
Messed up way to go,
Uncle Albin said, cracking open his 5th can of Yingling.
Overdose in the prime alive.
The wake was somber. We rented out an old fire hall, staffed with a few dozen families and friends. While everyone was mumbling condolences between bites of kielbasa, there was an air of competition treading through the room. The question of who brought the most impressive dish was settled when Aunt Gert, Joe's mom, walked in with a cheesecake.
Mary and Jesus,
Uncle Albert whispered, dropping his beer. The cheesecake was red velvet, crimson, as red as the rain that might have once fallen on Mars. It was glossy, reflecting back the overhead light and our stunned faces. The cake was massive. Nearly all of us got a slice. I've never tasted anything like it before. Butter and sugar congealed while ricotta and cream cheese and flavors I couldn't pin down all danced together on my tongue. I wept. I wasn't the only one to do so. We all claimed it was grief over Joey. And Gerd watched us devour her creations with a sad smile on her face. When it was over, she cleared her throat.
I'm afraid I lied to you all about Joey. It wasn't an overdose. Joey took a straight razor to his wrist and bled out on the kitchen floor. So much blood. None of you all care, do you? You're here for the food. Joey meant nothing to you at all. Well, I tell you, there was enough blood on that floor, live blood, that I was able to sponge it up before the ambulance arrived. All you all care about is the food, so how do you like the cheesecake?
We were horrified, but the truth is we were all still hungry. It was tough waiting till dark to head to the graveyard. Couldn't risk interruptions though. The soil over Joey's grave was black and loose. Ma brought a coleslaw. Uncle Albert fired up the grill. Like I said, when we grieve with food. When I grieve as well, I grieve with food too. I need to come and join your family. The next story was published by Sugarson. The pattern. My wife was the first one to realize there was a pattern. She noticed that they always came at the same time every day and was always in the same order. We spent the next few days figuring out the pattern. When I mentioned it to someone at work, they said it sounded like Morse code. I laughed at the idea initially. It seemed so ridiculous. I expected my wife to laugh as well, but she begged me to check if it was Morse code. I pulled up an app on my phone and began to check the patterns, and I felt a chill go down my spine as I completed the translation. The message read, "I'll kill every single one of you when I'm finally free from this prison." I handed it to my wife, and I saw the color drain from her face as she read it. I watched her grab her stomach and moan in pain. I looked over the clock to see it was time for the message. I placed my hand over her swollen belly and placed my other hand on hers as we felt whatever was living inside her stomach start kicking. My son is coming. Children are wonderful, aren't they? They do so many unexpected things. Here's a story posted by Norman Crane. The Return. When we moved to Nairobi, we were expecting to stay for 2 years, the length of my wife contracts. Daria was one then. Charlie wasn't even on the horizon. But my wife contracts got renewed, first by 12 months, then indefinitely. I found a good job. Perhaps most surprising of all, we started to like it here. The temperate climate, how great the location was for traveling, the beaches. We made good friends, especially Paul and Mindy. And one day I asked my wife whether we wouldn't enjoy making Kenya our home.
No more thoughts and shifting plans about returning,
I said. She merely smiled and kissed me, and Charlie was conceived soon after. Even Daria appeared happy. We had secured a place for her in an American school, and she seemed well adjusted to her surroundings. All the more so because we spoiled her silly. When Charlie was born, there was complications. Although I didn't know it at the time, my wife's life was in danger. Thanks to the excellent medical care she received, however, she came through okay. And Charlie, though small and underweight, entered the world a healthy baby boy. Nonetheless, the first few months was difficult. So many bloodshot nights and emergency trips to the hospital. Charlie's life always seemed exceptionally fragile. It wasn't until he was 6 months old that my wife and I felt we could relax. We found a well-regarded babysitter, and because the occasion coincided with our anniversary, we met Paul and Mindy at one of Nairobi's finest restaurants.
Have you had the talk with her yet?
Mindy asks.
The talk? The one about where babies come from, where Charlie came from. A few weeks ago,
I said.
The trick is being consistent. Whatever you tell one, you must tell the others.
He and Mindy had 3 beautiful children.
What did you say?
Mindy asks.
The truth or... No one tells the truth. You cannot tell them the truth. Not yet.
Mindy took a sip of wine.
For me, it was the cabbage patch story. We settled for Stokes.
My wife said. Paul nodded.
See?
He told Mindy, chewing.
They agree with me. Cabbage patch are stupid. We found the idea of Stokes delivering Charlie somehow noble. A right proper kind of mythology.
I said.
There's a rich tradition. We hope it teach respects to the environment.
My wife said. Mindy drank her wine. Upon returning home, we bid the babysitter good night. I peeked in on Daria. She was sleeping like an angel. And my wife checked on Charlie. I ran. Charlie wasn't in his crib. My wife repeated, He's the babysitter. I turned to see Daria standing in the doorway.
I didn't want a baby brother,
She said calmly.
so I returned him.
The window, where out, illuminated by the pale light of a full moon, a marabou stork pulled flesh greedily from a small carcass lying at its feet. Well, I guess she did return him into the void of non-existence. Please remember to like and subscribe. And remember, have a nightmarish night.